Hi everyone and welcome to today's watercolour quick fix. I've been asked how to create light on a surface, and instead of just sort of it being about painting shadows and things, I'm talking about like a shiny surface, like I don't know, like a piece of jewellery or a pearl or something. So I decided to do two shapes that we can sort of look at a bit like jewellery. So here I've got a nice round surface, maybe a big pearl in the middle with some tiny weeny ones around the edge. I've got some shadow mix, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint sort of around the edge, but in quite a diluted manner. I'm gradually bringing the colour in. Now I'm cleaning my brush off every time now, and I'm just going to draw in the colour into a focused spot. But what I can also do is I can also add a bit more colour around the edge if I really want to highlight the light in the middle. So just sort of try and draw it in, and find yourself a space. I'm doing it sort of slightly top left. And then suddenly you've got a nice sort of shiny pearl there. But if we're doing it on a smaller scale, all we do, using a smaller brush, same kind of premise, round the edges, clean that brush off, and then just very gently move the colour and leave yourself with a little bit of unpainted space. And what we can do is once it's dried, we can add even more darkness to really highlight the shiny bit. Doesn't have to be quite so blended and smooth with the little ones. The light can be more immediate. But you can see what also helps is we've got a consistent sort of light source that it's up top left. So what I'm going to do now is get a bit more Prussian blue, a bit more burnt sienna in a slightly more concentrated manner, a little less water. And I'm just going to drop it in there, drop it there. And it all just helps, even with the large one. Doesn't need to sort of still be smoothly blending in. That's what you can always do. Get your larger brush, clean that off, and very gently smooth that up and round. Just keep cleaning off your brush and blotting it off as well. You don't want to be adding lots more water to the page. And there you go, two sort of rather, yeah, some rather lovely little pearl shapes. And then over here we've got a gemstone. Let's add a bit of green to this one. Let's do an emerald that's got clear faces, different cut shapes that are going to reflect the light very differently. They're all going to do it in their own separate way. So I think, yes, this size brush is quite good. So we'll go with our shadow to begin with. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin, then I'm going to go shape by shape. And what I want to do is I want to outline it first. but I want to make sure there's a very clear bit of unpainted space. And we'll get some of that green in. And you want to play around with concentration, so I'm going to put a really sort of strong bit of green in down there. And then I'm going to leave that shape and I'm going to go over the other side. I'm going to find one that doesn't touch it at all. I'm going to outline it. And then I'm just going to sort of play around with creating some unpainted space. Dropping in some green. I'm just going to continue going around finding the shapes that weren't touching. By the time I've done this one, that one should be dry-ish. It's a little bit harder to be as sort of sure as to the source of the light with a gemstone like this, because it's bouncing, the light is bouncing off in all directions. But what happens with this approach to the technique is you just end up with a really fun looking multifaceted gemstone. You could leave a tiny slither of unpainted space there, but it doesn't matter too much because they do dry quite fast, just as long as you aren't shoveling the water on. And suddenly you see it starts to come together. And obviously there is going to come a point where if you don't want to wait, you are going to end up with some gems faces that do touch. But again, like I said, if you're not shoveling in tons of water, which you shouldn't be, then you're going to be absolutely fine. And there we go. Two very different approaches to creating light on a shiny gemstone.